This is part 3 of the presentation, in which Jase and John give you a tour of setup details on their 2019 competition airframe, an Extreme Flight 104-inch laser. As we noted in the previous sections, some details of Jase's control setup are specific to freestyle competition and may not be applicable to all pilots in all types of RC flight. Like the previous sections, this film is broken down into chapters for your convenience.
So this is the actual 35% Extreme Flight laser from the 2019 season that won the Extreme Flight Championships, the Clover Creek Invitational Freestyle, and the Tucson Aerobatic Shootout Freestyle. It has several hundred flights on it now, between practice flights and competition. Practice flights are not any easier than competition flights, so it has plenty of abuse.
It really does, and we'd love to give you a tour of it.
Fuel tubing routing and venting is extremely important on an aerobatic aircraft. We are going to explain the theory behind it and why we use this system.
So if you notice here, on my vent tube, I'm coming off the top, the vent side. It's coming around the tail end of the fuel tank or smoke tank, all the way around and up around and then down out to the bottom of the fuse. Instead of running it directly from the vent all the way down to the bottom of the fuse, I like to wrap it around. Reason being is we don't want it to siphon. If this airplane, or when this airplane goes inverted, you're gonna get some fuel or oil up into the vent, and then as soon as it rolls back over, if you have it run directly to the bottom of the fuse, it's just gonna continue to siphon out of the bottom. This will stop the siphoning, same with the fuel and same with the smoke. That's the reason for running it all the way across here. It makes an air trap, so you don't have the siphoning issue.
A lot of people want to know why we have different types and colors of fuel tubing on our aircraft.
For example, we're using the blue fuel line supplied by Extreme Flight. We've been using it for years. It's a fantastic product. It doesn't shrink, it doesn't get too stiff, and we've never had an issue with it. Now we have that running on our tank as far as like on the breather, and we also have it supplied to the carburetor. Now the Tygon we use as our filler, the only reason for that is because when we pull this out and we pull the fuel dot out, the Tygon seems to be just a little more flexible, and it seems to retract and contract, or contract and retract a little bit easier. So it's much more pliable, and that seems to work a lot better as far as sliding in and out the fuel dot. That's the only reason. I really prefer this blue over the Tygon because it lasts much longer. Okay, tie wire, I really like using that, not only because for me it's quite easy, it's inexpensive, and when you use the tie wire, it gets a firm grip all the way around the tubing. If you use, say, like a zip tie or something like that, if you take a close look at when you're doing that, you tighten that right up, right where the zip tie goes through the little slot. It's not going to be clamped down nice and even all the way around. I prefer this. I haven't had an issue with it. I buy a big old roll of it, and it's easy to use, it's efficient, and it works fantastic for us.
A good reliable smoke setup is extremely important for good freestyle flight. It adds to the artistry and presentation. Timing of the smoke on and off is very important, with the music as well. I've seen smoke setups that have made or break placing in competitions between pilots that use smoke and pilots that don't. It may take a little work to get a good quality and reliable smoke setup, but it's definitely worth it in the end.
Exactly, I agree 100%. This is how we achieve a good, reliable smoke system. All right, it's really important to have clean oil going into your smoke pump. A clean pump is a happy pump. The way to achieve this is I have a filter in line in my pickup tube. I'm using the standard clunk that comes with the Extreme Flight tanks. I don't use a felt because, in my opinion and what I have ran across, Using those felt clunks, it restricts the flow of oil. You need to have a nice oil flow while filtering it as well. With the Holy Smokes pump, it comes with a nice filter. I install it inside the tank because if I'm gonna have a leak, I would like to have it leaking in the tank and not outside here in the fuselage. So what we have here, as Jay said, the Holy Smokes pump. It's very light, it's carbon fiber, it's easy to set up, and it's reliable. The most important thing is reliability in our setup. All our products work, we believe in them 100%. It's confidence, that makes the difference. You have to have confidence, and these pumps are amazing. Okay, from the pump, we have our exit line out of the pump, pushes the oil all the way through to this Y. From the Y to the check valves, from the check valves all the way to the exhaust. These are the same length because we need smoke immediately when he hits the switch, and it needs to hit both mufflers.
It is very important for good presentation that the smoke comes out both sides at the same time and fairly equal amount as well.
Here's the check valves. The point of a check valve is it keeps the system primed to this point. We want instantaneous smoke as soon as he flips that switch. We've tried a couple of different nozzles. I've tried making my own, getting all fancy, trying to make the desired spray, trying to atomize it, or that type of thing. But to be honest, we've had issues with that. The only issues that we've had, and the reason we've had issues, is when we're not flying with smoke, we have such a small opening that we tend to get carbon deposits in that slight opening, and then when he goes to fly, he hits the smoke, it's not working. So what I decided to use, and it is just a simple thing, is just the regular pressure fitting. It's wide open, no issues with it. It produces fantastic smoke, and to be honest, I haven't seen a difference when I'm using these the fancier nozzles compared to just using a regular pressure fitting. And this has been very maintenance free, it's dependable, it's exactly what we need. Something that's really cool that Extreme Flight does, they continue to make the assembly process so much quicker, so much easier. They have a supplied baffling system that comes with the kit. It's pretty much just glue it right in. I use goop and it seems to work great. You can just trim them up a little bit to fit, and that's just about it. They're preformed, you glue them in, you've got an excellent system for keeping your engine cool. Okay, when you're installing these, you want to keep these baffles nice and close to the cylinder head. Since this is a two-piece cowl, it's only adhered to the bottom of the cowling here, which will allow this top to move a little bit. Make sure that your baffling is nice and close to the cylinder. We keep ours so close that you can actually see some wear from the baffle to the cylinder. Okay, it's really important to keep things nice and neat. Not only you can diagnose issues easier that way, but you can also get at something and replace something if you need to in a timely manner. We find between rounds sometimes we don't have a whole lot of time, so I need to access that and replace it if we do have a failure very quickly, so Jase doesn't miss a round.
Moving to the radio gear, on my aircraft, I really like the Spectrum Power Safe receiver. It has 2 leads with EC3 plugs. The Pulse batteries that we're using here also come with EC3 plugs, so it makes for a simple connection. I really like EC3s. Also, one thing I would like to note is the soft switch is what I use on all of my aircraft, and that also seems to be working very well.
Yeah, for this system, and all our setups, we love simplicity. If you notice here, we don't have any regulators in our system. What we want to do is we want a very easy, simple setup. This is competition, okay? And we're out there to win. We want every edge we can have. We're gonna grab at everything we can that's out there to win. And for us, if it means changing a pack every 2 flights, that's not a problem at all. We like to keep things simple, we like to keep things light, and we like to keep things efficient.
Sticking with that mindset, at the beginning of 2019, we chose to use the Ibec instead of an extra ignition battery. That helps save weight and it works very reliable for our setup.
Absolutely. It takes one less step out of our setup, keeps it simple. Again, we're looking for the edge on our competitors. Okay, you'll notice that we have some protection over our wires. The reason for this is we don't want any chafing. When we're running and routing through the airframe that has carbon fiber, sharp edges, that sort of thing, we want to be able to protect that. We don't want any vibration to cause issues in the long run. As you know, we put a ton of flights on these things, constantly practicing over and over again, and it takes a little while to get these airframes dialed in. We don't want to lose an airframe. If we lose an airframe, that could be losing a competition. So one thing that I do to protect from that is I will use this product right here. It's fantastic. It's lightweight, flexible, but yet strong. It's a spiral wrap, very easy to use. I use that over my wire. I use two different sizes. I have a little 1/4 inch piece, and I have I think this is either 3/8 or 1/2, and it works fantastic. I love it. I use it through everything. Whenever I'm coming through the airframe, that's what I want to do. I want to wrap my wire, I want to protect it, and I want to make sure my insulation is nice and perfect and we don't have any issues. A common question that has arose from the carbon fiber used in the extreme flight airplanes: do you get radio interference? And the answer to that is absolutely not. Jase has probably had how many flights on these airframes?
Thousands of flights on many different airplanes of this construction.
Right, and have we ever noticed an issue?
Nope. Elevator control throws. For my flying, I like the elevators bevel to bevel for maximum maneuverability. Maybe a few degrees different between up and down, but I felt that it's easy to compensate for that.
I found after building Jase's airplanes after 10 plus years that he loves and requires maximum throw up, maximum throw down. If the difference is a couple of degrees, that's okay, because he can compensate during the maneuvers.
Rudder throw. I prefer max rudder throw. What that means is that the rudder throw is maxed to the point of zero interference with the elevator in its travel up and down. Good idea is to check both right and left to make sure there is no limiting interference. Once you get to that point, if you have one side, it has more deflection than the other, then you can back it off a little bit in order to match the other side, because in my flying, I prefer to have as close as possible equal right and left rudder throws.
What we found out is what Jase needs is identical right throw and left throw.
While I can stand a little bit of difference between elevator travel up and down, the rudder has to be the same left and right. One thing I'm really picky about is the continuous equal travel on the elevators, so that we get a clean pitch from the aircraft. This is something that we work on continuously to make perfect.
Yeah, when setting up Jase's planes, I make sure that when Jase is applying elevator all the way from neutral all the way to the max, they are following each other identically all the way through the movement to neutral, each direction. They have to be in sync. What we have here is we have a 7/8 inch 3/8 drive socket. It's cable tied to the tail. I've got a little bit of CA here. We were out practicing, and you know what, Jase is it's not quite doing the maneuver that I want it to do correctly. I said, well, let's just try a little bit of tail weight. We put it on there, zip tied it on, went to my toolbox. I found this, zip tied it on. Let's give it a shot. It worked. We're gonna stick with it, put a little CA on it so it doesn't slide up and down, and it's been there ever since.
Yep, we wanted to show you this socket because this is the way that the Plane won Clover Creek and Tucson, and is a good symbol that we will do whatever it takes to win.
That's right.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks guys. We're very happy to show you our setup and what we do, and we look forward to seeing you guys at the field.